Hello and welcome back to another episode of Inside Mentors Minds, where we dive deep into amazing humans to find out what got them to where they are today and to just dive deeper into their mindset. And today we have a very special guest and someone that I'm very inspired to talk to today. Pauline, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So for anyone that is coming across you for the first time and learning about your work, do you want to give a little bit of a background of who you are and what the transformation you facilitate for others?
I'm a French girl. Obviously, like everybody gonna hear my accent in a second. So let's begin by like the elephant in the room. I'm also affected by a chronic condition called Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, a genetic condition that have lead me into a wheelchair a few years ago, and really in a place where I had to fight for myself and find solution. And on the way, I have begun to find hypnosis, cognitive behavioral therapy, anxiety, movement therapy, yoga. And today I try to deliver what I have found helping me and to help people to find their own solution and empower them to live their life to the fullest.
Amazing. And actually how you and I got talking was in a hot tub in Nirvana, and you just started diving deep about anxiety. And I remember I asked you this question and it really stuck with me. I asked you, do you think anxiety is an overused word in this day and age? What's your thoughts on that?
I think like we all talk about anxiety, but because we have that conception of stress, that stress is bad, and it's not like anxiety is not like it's just a stress that you maintain on long term. So the problem is not like the stress, the problem is like that you maintain it on long term. But stress can be really useful. There is eustress, distress, and I think the problem is not really anxiety, the stressor. It's the way we handle it, and we never give the opportunity to people to learn how to handle. We say anxiety is bad and push that away instead of just learning to deal with the stress in a more mindful, healthy way. So yeah.
So I'm so curious. I actually don't know this part of your story. Tell me, take me back to your journey, because your journey just sounds incredible. Like, how old were you when you got diagnosed, and then how soon after you got diagnosed were you in your wheelchair?
I always had kind of some kind of symptoms that was weird, but when you grew up in Europe as a woman, you're often dismissed in your like symptoms. It's in your head, it's stress. It says you can't be in that much pain. And I was a dancer, and of course, like you put a lot of pressure on your joints, so that's normal that you get injuries and stuff. But I was getting injured more and more. And at one moment, a few years ago, I was around 27. I was injuring really a lot because my disease, Ehlers Danlos, come with a lot of dislocation, joint pain. So I could like dislocate knees or shoulders a few times a week. So it was not normal anymore. It was not possible to be normal. Tachycardia when you stand up is not normal. And like, or like those symptoms, fainting because you have to stand up in a queue in a line too long, like all those baby things that make like your life hell on earth. And suddenly I had the chance to find a doctor. I came for an effort test for tachycardia in a cardio center. And the cardiologist see me and say, what's your symptoms? And so I describe, no, I say all the symptoms, like not just the cardio symptoms. And he come back with like a test, 50 question, long test, and we pass all the questions. And he say, listen, you go downstairs. And like, it was a service for Ehlers Danlos, and I didn't know, but that cardiologist was the cardiologist for Ehlers Danlos people. And I had the chance to find that cardiologist, and I didn't heard about Ehlers Danlos before. And I had the chance to have someone who just say, I know what you have. Like, I saw that before. And I arrive at the Ehlers Danlos Center, and I get tested, and the process is quite long. And suddenly the news come, we are sorry, you have Ehlers Danlos, and now your life's gonna be completely different because there is no cure. So this is a wheelchair and this is painkiller, morphine, and all the medications that come with it, and grieve your former life because this is your life now. And I came first the depression, the denial, the depression, like all the grief stages. And at one moment I had the chance, and I think also that's why I shift into cognitive behavioral therapy. I find a cognitive behavioral therapist who told me, listen, obviously you want to try and you want to fight. I'm going to tell you something that I don't say often. Try everything because if you don't try, you're going to regret it anyway. And if you try and that's not working, you will be in the same situation. So go for it, go crazy, try everything. And I did. I tried hypnosis, I tried cryo, I tried Wim Hof, I tried breath work, I tried oxygen advantage. On the way, I like long list of stuff, and some have worked, some not. But I just like kept everything, the things that was working, refined them, studied them more, and today I have like a diploma in cognitive behavioral hypnotherapy. I have also a special formation in trauma disorder, anxiety disorder. I have also a certification in breath work and oxygen. I'm an oxygen advantage instructor. I have a yoga diploma, and yeah, now I continue to refine the subject of epigenetic, because that's it. The solution is there, is inside us.
Well, I got goosebumps when you're telling me this. This is just incredible. Like, congratulations on your journey and your inspiration, your success. It's just so admirable to see. Like, you know, it's so often, it's actually something that this weekend that I went through is like, I realized that I'm taking life for granted a little bit. It's just so easy to take life for granted without tuning in and being like, wow, like I can breathe, I can see, I can hear, you know, like I have to be like aware. And so it's just fascinating to see where you come from to what you've just overcome. For anyone, you said a word that I don't know if everyone in the audience will understand, but I think it'd be cool. And I would love to know your experience in it. What is epigenetics, and what have you done with this work?
Epigenetic is like a subject that I have begun to go like even more recently, because a doctor told me, oh, what you do is epigenetic. Because when they have begun to see my progress, for example, in dysautonomia, that's a symptom that's come with Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, with fainting. It's a nervous system disorder, so you have the tachycardia and stuff. So when they test you, when they retested me, they say, oh, we have the image of someone under medication, so with you not taking medication anymore. So that means like you master it without anything. And they say that means that what you do for living change the way your DNA expresses, or like change your symptoms, and it's genetic. So the principle of epigenetic is like, you can't change your DNA, but you can change the way your DNA expresses by the way you live, by the way you think, and the way you eat, and everything, your lifestyle, and also your environment. There is a lot of things that actually influence your genes at a really deeper level. and you can't change the map, but so what your DNA gonna like how it's gonna express is due to few pillars of health: the way you sleep, the way you eat, the way you move, because you pull on your DNA. For those interested in that, there is a guy called Tom Myers who wrote Anatomy Trains, and he talked more about that. And that's called microtensegrity, for those really interested in that, how movement affects the DNA. And also the way you manage your anxiety, and also the way you manage your environment. So environment, the way you think, your anxiety or your own self-talk, the way you eat, the way you move, and the way you restore and recover.
Wow. So would you say then you actually have, you've completely altered the way your DNA expresses itself then?
That I don't really care. The only thing that I can really tell right now is like, I'm a genetic disease girl that live without medication, and that few months that I had no dislocation and not massive symptoms anymore. So it's like, and I see that in few. I was talking with a doctor, EDS people doctor, and he said, "Oh, that's really interesting, because we saw like improvements of people like moving out from a city to another, meaning that there is city where the symptoms of Ehlers Danlos patients are much more important than in that city." And we was thinking like it was demographic or whatever, but in fact that's maybe the impact of environment. So they begin to search a little bit on that. That's not mean that you're responsible of your disease or whatever circumstances you have, but you still have power on it. And this is a thing, you know. I really hate like when coaches say, "Oh, this is your fault, you have to fix yourself, you have to change." They want people to change people, and they say you are responsible of it, and they like blame, victim blaming or passion blaming or whatever. And what I learned from my experience as a therapist, as a coach, is that the problem is never the person, or she's not like, we never try to like have a disease or go in bad relationship or whatever, but the solution is always in the people. So they are not the problem, but they are the solution. So yeah, and I think this is epigenetic. You have always access to a lot of solution, and you don't need much money to access it, because the solution is there. So yeah,
That's really beautiful. So talk me through. I'm really curious. Like, usually, anyone of greatness has a very dark moment. Talk to me, if you feel like sharing. Like, what was it like receiving that from the doctors, like that diagnosis or that understanding, like really when it's coming to your face, you're like, I know something's wrong, but like I should go get this checked out. Now you get it checked out and you find out you have all this, they give you a wheelchair. Like, how long were you in like some like deep dark stuff? And then what was the moment you got yourself out? Because I can imagine some people don't get out of what they're in, and they allow that diagnosis to be their destiny essentially.
I think like there is a trauma there, a trauma phase. But for every people who got into a diagnosis of a chronic disease, what is really interesting is like there is that moment of trauma they can remember. If you ask someone with cancer, leukemia, or chronic disease like me, and they remember exactly and really precisely the moment they have, that is the moment they get it, my life is different, you know, like the reality slap. Me, I still remember the texture of the wall that I was touching. I can still smell the room, like I can, it's really vivid. And I think it's okay, you know, like to realize that your life, and also like, because they just like throw that at you, and after they lynch me, so we have like, you have that, we're gonna test you because we need to check that you have not the vascular one, which is like the mortal one. So they, okay, so and if you are not bleeding from inside, so so we're gonna make few tests, so you're gonna take Apenpen, thank you, bye. And they just lynch you out there, but with no recommendation, no advice, like nothing, no therapist, like they and the lynch you there. And I remember that there was stairs to go down, and I just sat there for 20 minutes crying with no clue of what I was going, who to call. And I remember after that going into the underground, and I was still in Paris at that moment, and like it was rush hour, and the people around, the noise, and I just like had a massive panic attack at that moment, ending up going home and not being able just like walk out, like even in the corridor for a few weeks, because I was scared. My brain just like had that, I've glued the sensation of panic and that noise and crowd around me, and I was really overwhelmed. And that moment of I'm hopeless, helpless, and I have no clue of where my life is going anymore. And you have that anxiety mixed with depression, mixed like with trauma, and I think what saved me really weirdly is ego. I was hating for people to see me in a wheelchair. I was hating not being able to dance anymore. I was like my ego wanted, like my ego was like, so I was so hurt by that, because that I have begun to find solution, because it was not acceptable. So like really my denial phase became defiance. And there is a sentence that since I'm like really young, I can't suffer. It's like, you are not able to do that. And when the doctors told me, you will never make it, that will never happen, you will never dance again, I was like, I'm going to show you. And that defiance voice made me do all the steps. So normally it's a really bad thing to be in that kind of mode, but in my case, it was like, it's like, even today, like for people who follow me, I'm willing to a handstand, and I want that handstand. And if I get into that journey, it's because a doctor told me, say, okay, you can walk again. But that's not like, if one day you will be able to do something extraordinary like a handstand or whatever. And I say, get to show you. And it's always like really, and it's true that the handstand is also the perfect image of a functional body. You have to stack your hand, shoulder, you have to be flexible but strong and whatever. So for me to get to that position is showing like, look, I'm disabled and I'm highly dysfunctional on paper, but I get in that hyper functional body able to do it. And for me, it's also like a symbol. It's really symbolic, physically and mentally. Also because it's going upside down, facing your fear, be able to focus and relax in highly challenging positions. So, like, that's what I try to transmit to people.
Wow. Wow, I had no idea about all that. That is incredible. It's so true. Going into the handstand is literally like turning all that, what they said, on its head, literally.
Yeah.
So what's the journey? How, let's say from like when you said you were fainting and dislocating and all that, and like, this is what I love about people. It's like, you and I trained at Nirvana, you're now in Paris, but when you were here in Bali, like, you'd have no idea unless you talked to someone. You'd have no idea all this was going on. So what's that been like?
What, training or
Well, like from diagnosis to like dislocate fainting to where you are now doing handstands. That's like incredible.
Yeah, and also that's also another thing that you said, that you have never a clue of like what people, apart if you talk to them. But it's really the thing. It's like everybody, and I really think everybody have a certain level of trauma. For some, it's really like vivid. You can see it really quickly. But for like, we have all traumas. Like for me, it's on paper. I have a genetic like thing, and it's disease, and I'm considered as disabled. So like, but everybody have a like like disability in some way. Like that can be social anxiety. That can be like, you know, public speaking anxiety, or even like childhood trauma. Like everybody have like a certain amount of challenge. Nobody have like a perfect life. You know, the problem is also that because of also social media, Instagram and stuff, we always see just a good side of people. And when suddenly we face challenges, it's like, oh my God, I'm so unnormal. I'm so unnormal. I'm so like, I'm so shit, you know, like I have anxiety. I have like bad moments. Oh my God, I hate my body. But, you know, like, oh, I don't like this, or I don't. And no, you're human. That's a part of human experience. Welcome in real life, you know, but Instagram is not real life, you know. And also we are always sure that we should not talk about our problem, or because nobody have some like us. But more we open and more we share, more we discover that we are really different in our traumas. Nobody has the same trauma or the same challenges in their life, but everybody has some. Like everybody have some shit on the table. that's for sure. And I think it's also like validates that it's really important in the new world that's coming, and saying, hey, you're just human. That's okay, you know. That's not define who you are. What happened to you don't define who you are, but the way you handle it will. And this is up to you. And but don't be ashamed of what you lived or what you faced, because this is not you. And we are all there. So, but yeah, I think it's that's also what it's important with the new kind of influencers that's coming out, saying, hey, I have anxiety. It's normal. You know, I think it's really normal. But for coming back to your question about how I did it, I think it's like progress is a process. So it's not coming overnight. It's about testing, trying, failing, going back to it, learning from like, oh, that's not working. A lot of people say, oh, but what if I try this and it's not working? You will learn. Because every time you like something not working, the good feedback is to say why it's not working. Why did it's not working really great? It's like when you do like coming back to that handstand and say, okay, why? What did I do differently, and why it's not working there? You know, and you say, okay, so I'm gonna try that, because if that's not working for that reason, that's maybe this will maybe work for this reason. And it's like making a puzzle working together. So building your own solution is always that. It's like it's not like, oh, this is the solution, this is working perfectly, you know. So what diets? Okay, what's okay? Cognitive behavioral hypnotherapy work. That mean like, is acceptance working? Therapy work too? Okay, I'm gonna mix that together. The way I coach today is like my own process to take what was working best in everything and creating my own solution, you know. And that's what I try to deliver, to make a shortcut for people. But that does not mean that they don't need to make their own way and work on it and implement it and integrate it. There is no magic trick. So yeah, it has been a long process. So at the beginning, for example, for dislocation, I have begun to realize that I was always dislocating in part that was like really, really flexible, but also that I had no strength there. And so I have begun to find a solution to try to build more strength with electrostimulation or stuff. And now today I train a lot in Nirvana to put strength into joints and to stabilize, because the problem is not like you're hypermobile and super flexible. It's like you have no strength to hold everything together. So okay, this is working. Oh, pain. Hypnotherapy worked great. Self-hypnotherapy worked even better because I do it on myself, and I know exactly what I need. So that's good. Okay, let's find that. If hypnosis worked great, that means that you can maybe remove the bad idea you have and the misconception and beliefs that like retain yourself. So this is mindfulness. This is a de-hypnosis process. Okay. You see, it's like a lot of, I know that people would love to hear that there is a magical solution, and if you implement it for 8 weeks, that's going to work great. But that's not the truth. The truth is like progress is a process, and you're going to sweat for it. That's going to be hard. And on the way, you will have, I don't like to talk about relapse, but lapse. There will be moments like of, and you will go back again after, because this is life. This is not that. This is more a wavy process with guessing and a lot of setbacks on the way, but that's perfectly okay.
Wow. So you said you don't like the word relapse, but you like the word lapse. What? Talk to me about that distinction.
Because relapse is about, I have failed. It's, you know, like people think like, so I have like, okay, I have a progression and suddenly I have a relapse. Relapse means that you have failed and you go back to what you were before. Yeah. Saying you have a lapse is just saying it's a moment. You know, it's like you are, and the difference is like the relapse is I have failed, I go back to what I were before, and all that I have done is like I have erased everything. The lapse means it's a moment and it's an opportunity for me to recommit to what my goal was. So it's actually an opportunity for me to choose right now in which direction I want to be, like I want to go. Do I want to go there? And it's just a learning moment where I can make that choice again and recommit again to the person I really want to be, or to go back to the person I were. The relapse is like erasing all the process, all the progress you made, and all the paths you already made, to say, I get back straight to the beginning. And that's why I think the word you use is really important. And to make that choice again is really powerful. And to say straight away to the top, okay, I have a lapse moment. This is a moment I'm not in such a good like space right now, but I can recommit again to that person that I really want to become. And I think it's much more powerful for people to have that inner talk.
So I think there's always something powerful about vulnerability, and I feel the space that you feel strong enough to share. I can feel it in you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when was the last lapse you had, and what did you do to overcome it?
Recently, I was in Bali and I was facing a breakup. So I broke up for a really long relationship, 6-year relationship. But it was tough. And I had also a scooter accident. And I had like a broken hand, some dislocation, and massive bruises, and like problem like also in the foot. And it was really hard, because also not just because of the accident, but each physical trauma can trigger a flare-up of my disease. So I knew that I was going like to have like more symptoms for like in next weeks after the accident. So it was like challenging in terms of anxiety, in terms of like my inner grief, emotional grief, because of my recent breakup. And I had a moment where I was like, shit. And even like that instant process was, oh, my hand is broken, so I can't go upside down anymore. So I had a moment where my life had changed, my support and my life emotionally is completely different now. I'm gonna face a flare because of that traumatic event physically, and I'm facing also the fact that my mini goal of handstand is like kind of stopped, like, and maybe I'm not getting there anymore, and I don't know if I will be able to make it anymore. So I'm like, whoo, challenging. And what I learned is that sometimes you are like on that path, and you, for example, for headstand, it's have been like really like, I like that image because it's really like symbolic, but it's helped people to understand. It's like I couldn't go on my hand anymore, but I could go on my headstand and on my shoulder. So I have begun to work the same position on different way. My yoga teacher told me, you're a hypnotherapist, hypnose yourself, rehearse mentally, do it, challenge yourself mentally. And I was doing like a handstand meditation every morning, visualize myself going in handstand. And weirdly, 5 weeks ago, 5 weeks after the accident, I was going back in handstand, even better to where I was before, even with like a broken hand. So it's like sometimes you can't go on like the road will not be what you thought it would be, but you can still go around, you know. And sometimes it's longer, but you're gonna learn different things. It's like you can still like be, oh, I can't do it that way. But what is really good about resilience is, you know, like people have that thought about resilience, that resilience is about going back to what you were before. But nobody go back to what he was before. Nobody can tell me after a trauma or a traumatic event, a breakup or whatever, oh, now I'm the person I was like 1 year ago. That's never happened. We think I want to be the person I was. No, you will not. That will not happen. Resilience is about adaptation. It's about not just being able to overcome it, but also building the skills that will make you able to overcome other things on the way. You will be different because you got stronger. People think they got stronger because of the challenging. What does not kill me make me stronger? But that's not true. That's not the challenges that make you stronger. That's the skill you built in the process of overcoming it. You know, that's the skill you build that make you stronger. So when you have a setback, ask yourself what kind of skills and coping tools you can grab on the way. It's like, you know, when you have those games, like virtual games, and you are in a forest and you have like a box and you take the box. I have a sword. Like at the moment, that's not really useful, but like two level after it will be. So take every tools that you can gather on the way, because you never know what will be helpful in next levels.
That's so true. Yeah, I love that analogy. That's such a good analogy. Like, this is a useful tool, just not at this stage. When I was in a low point in my life, some of the things that I understood, I had to just not use because I wasn't at a place to be able to use them. Because it's like, to give you an example, I was 2 years ago, went broke and had to live out of, I didn't have to, I chose to too, like, but my options were I had to live out of a van. That was my options. And I had to eat out of the dollar store. And so I had to eat genetically modified food and like basically crackers for dinner. They couldn't afford anything else. But like all the knowledge of nutrition as a tool wasn't helpful in that moment, because I was like, I don't want to know all this about food because I couldn't afford it.
Look also the other picture. You can also say, okay, I also know what is the tool you made also in that moment is that ability to know that you are able to live with less, like, not such a great level of comfort. Oh, I'm able to do it. For most of people, that I'm gonna face like discomfort is really a big anxiety. I can't have a house, like the Maslow pyramid of needs, like physiological need. Can I eat, have a shelter, whatever? Those physiological needs before the safety and after the social engagement. So building the fact that you can like, when people ask me what's the biggest threat of the new, like that new generation, comfort. I think comfort is gonna kill us. Really, I think like we normally we should seek comfort for survival, but it came to a point that we seek comfort to just for the sake of having more comfort food, more easy delivery, more fasting, Amazon Prime. You all want quick, and this is what's going to kill us. I hate this sentence by coaches who say out of the comfort zone is where magic happens, because that's let's saying to people that comfort zone is where you are. Like, you should stay in comfort zone. That's where you live. And sometimes when you want magic to happen, you have to go out of the comfort zone. No, that's the reverse. Like, we have no needs for any comfort. We just need to go out in the comfort zone to get some comfort and bring back some comfort and just like take what you need. Like we cavemen, he go out, he search for like a skin to be more warm, to not die. That's not means that you have to have all those clothes all the time on you. So I hate this sentence about out of comfort zone is where magic happens. No, not going so much in the comfort zone. This is the thing. Just have less comfort and just take the comfort as you need it. Like reverse process. I think we have shift perspective. It's like, do you really need like I don't know, 2 pack of Toblerone, or do you really need like this? Like I had a friend like a few days ago. It was in Paris, because in Bali that's really different on that. It's like she ordered something on Amazon Prime and she was really upset because they didn't deliver it in 24 hours and she had it in 48 hours, and she was really, really, really upset. And I was like, yeah, but they should deliver it almost instantly. We are in the 21st century. And I was like, what? And it's like really an important object. And she said like, yeah, that's like a bottle opener or something. And I was like, what's the problem? But do you really need that? No, I have another one, but I really want this one. And she was really, really upset because they didn't deliver that fast. We all want things instantly right now. And this is the same with our own problem, mental anxiety. I'm hypnotherapist, and I have a lot of people who coming to me sometimes and saying, oh, I have that phobia, for example, fear of flying, and I fly tomorrow. Can you fix me? No. That's not a magic one. Like every people want a magic one. The truth is that's not that. Everything in life that you want to improve in you, I will not use the word change, but everything that you want to improve in you need time, and need time also to become an habit, need your dedication, need your persistency and efforts and authenticity and your inner strength and passion, or it will not stay. Like nobody can give you nothing in life. You have to get it, and you have to take it, and it will ask efforts. And that can't be instant. That's I think the main lesson I had to face in those years. Yeah.
So I mean, I find this really hilarious because I just analyzed like, like I've come to optimize my life essentially, right? Like, so like I don't have to make as many trips to the grocery store anymore because the groceries are delivered here. I figured out, but like I'll have to figure out all these steps along the way. but like it's through optimization. But also I'm like reflecting not just on me. I think of like when you're speaking of like the magic's outside the comfort zone, like the average person is just like really comfortable in there, in that space in themselves. So then like what does someone, because like I guess naturally as we grow, like we, that becomes normal. Now we're accustomed to it, now it's comfortable. So what was once uncomfortable becomes comfortable. What's your thoughts on that?
Comfort for me is what you used to. If you used to like a house and like but even like running tap water that you can drink, and suddenly you go in Bali, that's super discomfortable
No,
because
you
you need
can't.
to get some bottle of water, you know. So the comfort is also what you used to. If you live in a house since like 10 years and suddenly you go in a van, at that moment it must have been really discomfortable for you because you was not used to that. But after a few months, when you get used to live like that, and suddenly you go back in a house, you're like, you are one super grateful, but also like your level of needs, your level of like habituation is different. The brain love, your body love what's familiar. That's by repetition that also we build comfort. And discomfort is also what you're not used to. The level of also seeking comforts and thinking what can normally help you live better. So what we are like thinking for just element of comfort out there, it's maybe you did it in your van phase, like, okay, maybe I'm gonna buy a curtain because like I need to close that part or stuff. You can't have that full comfort that you had in a house, so you're gonna optimize your space and seek for comfort element to bring in your discomfort zone, you know. And I think this is also the good way to go. That's not mean that we should not like you was saying, like grocery delivery and stuff. Like I lived in Bali too, you know, like Gojek. Oh my God, you know, like the first days in Paris, I was okay. I'm hungry. I'm gonna Gojek. I said, Gojek don't exist here. My God, what? You know, like massive labs. You know, like oh my God, why Gojek is not existing here? You know, but the truth is like when you, it's comfort. If you do grocery delivery, it's you talked about optimization. If you do grocery delivery just for the sake of not walking to the grocery store, it's, for me, it's like, going again like comfort zone and thinking again for comfort. But if you do that for the sake of, at that moment it saved me time to like work out, going to the gym, or that saved me time because at that moment I can work from home on whatever editing I have to do, and I prepare my grocery on the computer. They deliver it as I work, and when they deliver it, I stop working and clean everything. It's optimization. It's also that why do you seek for that element of comfort? What's the purpose of it? And sometimes when you ask people, they have no clue. They seek comfort for the sake of comfort. And I think that's why I think comfort is gonna kill us. When you face a chronic disease like mine, you know that you can't always prevent bad things to happen. That discomfort is life is not supposed to be comfortable all the time, and it's not in comfortable space that you grow. It's like trying to stop the rain, and because you don't like the rain, but if it's not raining, there is no green space. Sometimes it's rain more than other, and on some places the rain falls more than in other places. I lived in London, I can tell you that. It's rain every day. I'm in Paris right now, it's raining, and I'm sure in Bali it's not. And that's like for people. On some people, the challenge is gonna like fall more often. That's not mean that bad people or that bad places. That just means that it's different. But maybe they are greener. There is more growth there too. It's like it's different, and we really think that challenges, rain moments are bad, but that's not true. That's absolutely not true.
There's sun behind those clouds.
And also that just like we really think that I know that's a conception that you should be happy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You should have like a perfect life. That's not happen.
Mm-hmm.
This is life, guys. Like,
mm-hmm.
and trying to push that away and trying having the perfect life. And like I have my yoga teacher said me once, what's the goal of people? And a lot of people think, and I thought it like in the past, they want to be happy. People want to be happy. That's not true. And they say it said they want to be whole. There is nothing you can add to yourself that will make you more you.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you have ever needed is there. Everything, and if we remove something, that's not you. But if we add something different, that's not you. That's also why I don't like the word change. You don't make change people. You make them grow. This is completely different. The tree, when it's a baby plant, and the tree is not different. There is just growth in between. You can improve. What I learned from myself and coaches in coaching people is that we really think like people need to change, but they are perfectly perfect as they are. And all that they think is bad, you can reverse. Every vicious circle in people can be reversed in a virtuous circle, like in a good cycle. And this is the trick. It's like people think like bad diets, but you can transform a bad diet in a good diet. Everything that can destroy your life can improve it also. And it's just about shifting the perspective. Oh, I have a bad diet, so switching in a good diet. My breathing is dysfunctional, so I have a functional breathing. I have like bad thoughts, so hypnose yourself with good thoughts. Every power that I use, hypnosis, breathing, are like can be all cause and a consequence of like a bad like thing in your life, cardiovascular disease, whatever, bad diet. And if you can reverse it in a good thing, it's up to you to use. Like the problem is a tool. We think the problem is a tool, but it's not. The way you use it. I have a glass and I can drink liquid, and it's a great liquid container, but I can also draw with it. The problem is not the tool we have there. It's how we use it. And I think a lot of people don't get it. They think the problem is them. No. Okay, maybe the problem is them, but they are also the solution. That's the thing. Reverse the process. All your bad thing in you can be also your power. That's what makes you strong. And thinking that you need to add or remove things from yourself is, I think, the misconceptions that make people like go the wrong way. They try to add stuff to themselves. They try to remove stuff from themselves. They try to change. They think they have to change themselves. No, there is nothing that you can add to yourself that will make you more you, or remove to yourself and that will make you better. But take everything in consideration. Take all your bad patterns, all your polarities, and make them work and serve you. Because that's it. You are just in a pattern that you like, your polarities don't serve you. But what happens if you manage them, handle them, and make them work for you and not against you? That's what happened with epigenetics. I changed my diet. I changed my way of breathing. I changed my way of working. And what's worked for me will certainly not work for everyone. But what I can say is like every people have the solution in them.
I love that. It's so true, and I completely echo what you're saying. That's so beautiful. I would love to hear your perspective. Since being a psychologist, I don't know if that's what you would call yourself, but just to encompass some of your work, I'd be curious. What do you think social media is doing to our psyche, and what do you see is going to be our future with social media, and what kind of effects is it having on our brain?
That's really a bad subject, because as we were saying, I think it's also showing that perfect image of happiness that it's a problem. Like, we show the best of our life, we show but we don't show the setbacks, we don't show reality. Like, and but the problem is like we don't show reality, but this is real person that deals and go on Instagram. I had to face some influencers because, for example, in Bali there is a lot of influencers, so I got in touch with a lot of people, even with a lot of followers. And when I was like asking for tips and stuff, they was like telling me about those strategies and stuff, like follow and follow. For those who don't know what's follow and follow, it's like you follow that person so they see you, and right after they have followed you, you unfollow them. And I say, this is bad. This is not something that we should do. No, that's mean. You know, like, hey, I want to be your friend. That was a trick. No, that's just for you to venerate. Like, you know, like all those principles. And I was like listening to like also like selling those products, saying, this is a bottle of Vita Coco stuff. And do you drink that? No. So why do you like advise people to drink it? No, it's shit, but like they pay me to say it. And you're like, you know, it's bad. Or, oh, I'm going to criticize that post because it's controversial and stuff. And you're like, oh, I don't like what you post, so I'm your friend in real life, but I'm going to unfollow you or stuff or whatever. And all those principles. And when I said that, you realize that you like, it's bad. You know, you will not do that in real life. Yeah, but it's social media is different. And I begin to say, no, it's not different. You deal with real people. They are just like a screen away from you. So when you behave differently because it's Instagram or social media, you're like, your word have meaning and meaning have consequences. I don't remember who said that, but this is the same thing. It's not because they have a screen of difference that the person is not there. And I think the problem is like we see insult, bullying, and that's make everything, the communication easier, but also all the bad thing in communication, bullying, those bad behavior of rejecting, ghosting, and all those baby mental abuse that we can see in real life. Stonewalling, ghosting, gaslighting, and whatsoever happening on a bigger scale. And I think that's a problem. But I think we also have the solution. Just be more authentic, more real. Just and for the people who are on Instagram, remember that we show just one part of our life. Is like a business card, like you, or a photo album. We don't put bad picture. Nobody do that. And this is life. But we need to remember that this is reality, but it's a part of the reality. It's a perception of it. It's a really like a short vision, you know, like, so we need to remember that to be able, I think, just to, and we need also to come out there with that saying, hey, this is just a part, like, and remember that there is human screen away. Like, weirdly, when someone texts me on Instagram, I answered like someone told me, oh, you answered me. Yeah, but yeah, but you communicate, and after you went to see my profile, yeah, I'm like, yeah, like all human, you know, that's, yeah, I deal with real people, you know. um so, and when people ask me what's your strategy on Instagram, acting the same way that I act in real life, you know, I think I think that, yeah, that's what I think about social media. But I'm not like really good at social media, I think, for that reason. But I think we should also stop to like saying like see the number of followers as a metric for the value of people. Also that.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
So for myself, I'm about as raw and unaware as it gets. I'm getting a lot better now, but that's why it makes me laugh, because like all these things that people are doing, that for me, I'm just at the beginning of it. I got social media last year for the first time in my entire life. So all these different things and strategies humans do for
Like
whatever
the,
their motive is, is, I find it really interesting. Yeah, I'm like hearing it for the first time, you know. So, but also what I try to do too is like, you know, I want to be, my intention is to try to be as close to my heart as possible, as digitally as possible, you know. But I find it so fascinating, right? Because like if I look at my own self, like when do I share, or when, like I'm just thinking about like I'll do stories today, but like this story I'm gonna tell is just something I feel inspired telling. But it's like when we capture a moment, it's gonna be tops 15 seconds. Well, that the actual environment, the situation that we're in is like a lot more than 15 seconds, and a lot more things are happening in 15 seconds, and there's just one view of it. There's so many different viewpoints of that moment, so it can be difficult.
and also like, you know, like, but I know that a lot of people struggle with that too. It's like you have those people that you meet from their social, you have the access to their social media, and you meet them in real life. And some people who are like, are they the same person? It's not possible. They don't think the same way, they don't act the same way. Like they're like really, like, you know, like those influencers that, yeah, peace and love, and we love the world, and namaste and whatever. And in real life, you're like what
Where did
is it,
that
your evil
person
twin,
go?
or you have an evil twins and I didn't know? And what's you know, like that's mind blowing. And you're like, all that energy is spending to show off something that's not real, and after acting completely different way, and you're like, and you have those person who have like on Instagram, they are so fun, and you're like, they're exactly the same person. Like, and you have that congruency between the two. And I think like when you ask what I think the problem with social media, I think congruency. I think authenticity and congruency, and you know, all those things that make also you know what's really interesting when you, for example, have the word confidence. Confidence is about security, the stability. You're sure, you're certain of something. And I think that what will bring confidence of people is to be more congruent, more authentic, have more persistency and consistency, more reliability. And I think that's what we begin to lack on social media, because it's begin to be acceptable to like be two different persons for the sake of the gram and the numbers and the metrics. And to be a like also if you want to be successful on social media, you have to influence, to be an influencer that way or that way. And we begin to say to people, and I think it's like a little bit vicious there, that they need to be someone different, they need to be as the others to be valuable and to have followers and stuff, instead of being themselves. And they try to do like the others and to fit in a strategy. But the problem, I think the really big change of strategy is like allowing to be yourself and accept yourself, not because you are perfect, but because or the growth can just happen within yourself, and not by thinking and trying to be someone different. It's just having a mask, and growth happening inside, not from outside in, like that's not working this way. And yeah, I just think it's like showing, it's making something shifting in the mind of people that need also to be said.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I actually, before I got social media, I had a pretty big judgment on social media, because I never had it until I was 30 years old. And so I would see what it's doing to us as a humanity, but my lens on it was just I had a cognitive bias, I guess you could say, on it. But then as I've been going into it, I'm realizing, though, on this other side, it's just a tool. Essentially, it's just a tool. Go ahead.
And again, the tool is not the problem. The tool is never the problem. It's how you use it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how do you use the tool? Like, we really think that the tool is a problem, but it's how you sharpen your tool and how you use the tool. Like, this is actually not, Instagram is not a problem. Social media is a great opportunity to touch a lot of people, to communicate, to gather people together, to bring community together, to spread awareness, confidence, and good communication. But that's the problem. Is like, that again, we talk about the good positive cycle and the vicious cycle. That's not what there's a problem. That's not the tool and what's inside. It's how you use it. Mm-hmm. So everything that is actually a good thing can become a bad thing used in a bad way, and something that actually is not really positive, but you change the way you use it, can become a really positive thing. Like your diet, like, my DNA was really a problem for me, and I was sure that I wanted to change my DNA, and that I didn't have to have that symptoms anymore. But now I know how to handle my body. Nobody would make it work as, like, I'm the best person to have that body. And you know what? If you would give me the best body ever, a massive, like, beautiful girl, super strong, that can do push-up, like, I could manage it. I couldn't manage it. I would not know how to handle that. But I know how to handle my body, and all the thing is about how can I handle what they are better. How can I can become more functional? How can I make that body works for me? So it's not about having, the problem is not about, I'm considered as hypermobile. Is the hypermobility the problem? No, it's not the hypermobility. It's to bring stability into the hypermobility. But once I'm there, that means that I can do also super, super good stuff like split and whatsoever. The only thing is to be able to stabilize and be stronger in that position. Basically, that's also why I train in gyms like Yavana and Bali and stuff, to be able to do that. So again, everything that can be used badly, and it's just about to handle it in a better way. So yeah.
And so how can you relate that to what we're experiencing right now on our planet?
On the planet, you mean?
Well, like
COVID
in the climate that we're in right now with everything. How's your experience been on it, and what's your take on it?
Like a few weeks ago, I put a story on Instagram saying it's like what I call the Titanic syndrome. It's like, if sometimes I ask to my clients, if you want to save the Titanic, what do you do? And they say, remove the iceberg. That's the first thing you think, remove the iceberg. But the truth is, like, when you ask them, so you're gonna remove all the icebergs? from the sea, and every time the boat go out, you remove the iceberg. And they say, no, like that's not sustainable. But for saving the Titanic, you just need to remove that iceberg. Yeah, but how do you know that you're not gonna eat another iceberg? Do you not prefer to fix your boat and make sure it can resist all the iceberg possible if it's coming? And I said the situation with COVID and stuff is the same. Like we are focused on the iceberg, but we're not focusing on the like deficiency we have and why we are not resistant to those icebergs coming. So we don't fix the boat. Obviously, fixing the boat, like processed food, bad diets, massive dysfunctional breathing patterns, all those like mental issues, all that we don't fix because it's a long-term process, and it will ask us also to like interrogate and have a like real big reflection on how we live and to be able to change that. And instead we try to remove all the straight away like from everything, but we waste so much energy. Like when you really think about that, it's like, oh my god, the people who like have also suffered the most are suffering from bad alimentation, bad diet. Why we don't change that? Why we don't take that in consideration and in a lesson for the future? And that's again the same. It's like trying to remove all the iceberg and just like, okay, we need to make that boat continue floating and that's gonna be okay. Yeah, no, I think the problem is like there will be other iceberg on the way, and we are not ready to face it if we don't fix our boat.
I like that. I've never heard that before. I have one final, two final questions, but my last question for you today. You did a post, and I actually sent the post to my girlfriend because I thought it was so fascinating. I never heard the term before, but it was just so interesting because she has experienced it. And what I love about psychology is that when we have like an awareness around it, then it doesn't, at least for me, it doesn't like hold me down as deeply because I'm like, oh, there, it's happening. And so you said the word, you did a post on medical gaslighting. And I thought that, wow, what an awareness to have, especially someone in some sort of chronic something that this is happening and how often does this happen. And then it brought a beautiful discussion about how this is constantly have been happening to my girlfriend in what she's experiencing with her symptoms in their gut. And so do you want to just explain to me and to the listeners what medical gaslighting is, please?
Gaslighting, medical gaslighting is a form of gaslighting. Gaslighting is a mental abuse. Medical gaslighting can be do consciously or unconsciously. Mostly it's do unconsciously because of bias, cognitive bias from doctors. It's when a doctor completely dismiss your symptoms or blame you for your symptoms because he think it don't see this like a reason for it. So the reasons must be you and in your end. So it's victim blaming, and it's pushing you to question your thoughts, your perception, and your own sanity. Sometimes you really feel that you're getting crazy. I had that moment when people were saying, oh no, you're so stressed. Come on, you can't be in that much pain. You're faking. You're seeking for attention, and this is really difficult also because this is an ongoing trauma to be dismissed that much, because there is also people who will never get into a doctor, like me, even me, when I have to go to the hospital, I'm really facing really high level of anxiety, because and I have a diagnosis and I have papers who like prove what I have, so it's easier for me now. But I think it's what you was describing is with that post is that And that's why I want to bring those subjects into light, is that at the moment you saw that post, you say, oh, I didn't know. Oh, this is actually what's happening to my girlfriend. So you engage a conversation. She feels validated. So suddenly it's like, I am normal. I understand the process. I know this is not me. I know I have a certain level of validation. That's also allow you to understand her more in her, like, in her own challenges. So this is a magical thing with awareness. When you begin to like be aware of things, you don't act the same way. And this is what I try to do. For example, when I talk about, a few years ago now, I wrote an article about spoonies. Chronic disease people are called spoonies because that's how we handle our energy with like the image of spoon. And when some people, like, I wrote the article in the for explaining to my family and friends what I was living, but also in the like purpose to like have a medium for people to say, this is what I live, look. Because sometimes the problem with medical gaslighting is also family gaslighting. No, doctor says it's not possible, so it's not possible. So we are like we isolate ourselves as chronic disease people. But I think it's not just like chronic disease patients like me, it's also people facing health anxiety or trauma disorder, people facing, I don't know, binging problems or pulling their hair, and they have no clue that actually there is a powerful thing by saying to people, look, this is not just you, you are not alone. And also to be able to create a support to make family and friends understand and say, this is what's happening. Oh, so you can communicate better. There is when you like make people able to understand what you live, you begin to create that level of empathy that make people be able to live together. So yeah, I think it's not just like about medical gaslighting, it's about awareness in general. That, and also like medical gaslighting also opens a conversation about family gaslighting, about gaslighting in general. And yeah,
it was so beautiful, actually, Pauline, because I remember distinctly about it, my girlfriend went on a 70-day detox, and obviously I'm really like intimate with her symptoms. I'm around her. I'm like also in some ways helping her and guiding her through some of the stuff, emotionally and mentally. So like I'm on the ground floor with what she's experiencing. And I can remember, like, after I saw that, I went right to that moment, and we were in the doctor's office here in Bali at this place called BSI. And I remember what the doctor said to her. And as soon as we got out that room, I was like, we're not taking that. That is not coming in here, because that is not a solution. You're doing that. And actually, if the doctor took your whole picture, he would know that that would definitely not be the solution. So then I saw that, I was like, before my own eyes, because I haven't really spent too much time in hospitals and stuff, I really witnessed the human ego. And I realized that because this doctor didn't have an answer, he just projected this solution out of, because he didn't know. And he's supposed to be the smart guy with all this data and all this stuff. And he clearly didn't take in the whole picture of her, even though the space is supposed to take in the whole picture, didn't consider her as her entirety of her body, and just purely medical gaslighted on her. And I sent that post to my girlfriend. I was just like, this is what happened. And like, we walked out that day, and like, she hasn't really been supported in the way that I guess I've supported her through her medical journey. And I was just like, absolutely no way. We are not accepting that.
It's also to be, I think there is two symptoms in also what you describe. It's like about the bigger picture. It's like, I like that image. Sometimes I share it on my story. It's like 5 doctors blinded and touching an elephant, and he say, oh, this is
Yes.
a pillar, this is a thing, and because and he touched, oh, this is maybe a plant or whatever, and because and someone step back with not the blind and say, oh, this is just an elephant, guys. And the problem is, like, we don't step out, we don't take the big picture. This is also when I explain that to help with medical gaslighting is to have like a multi-specialty center, because when you have much more people involved in the process, it's much harder to gaslight, because gaslight is generally one person, that's due to the bias of one person, at least in medical gaslighting. And also the other thing is, like, we suffer from like another problem. I saw a post, it made me furious the other day. A thing that a therapist should never say to a patient: I don't know. What's the problem with I don't know? I prefer someone who said to me, I don't know, but let me search on it. I don't know, but let's find out together. Like, we have a problem with I don't know, but actually the people who are the smartest people on earth, who have like, it's really beautiful to know so much about a subject, to say, I know everything, but I'm going to tell you something. The people who know so much about a subject, we always say, this is what I still don't know about that. They are really happy to search more, to research more, and they know that they have not a perfect sense of everything. So I love when a doctor, but also people, tell me, oh, I didn't know about that, or I don't know that, instead of saying, I don't know that, so it can't exist. You know, like, having that ego talking, that also we have put so much responsibility on doctors, therapists, and whatever. They should know everything, or they are incompetent. No, incompetent, like, competent people are long life learners. They learn every day. And when they see something that they don't understand or don't know, they search on it, and they become like more knowledgeable and more efficient in whatever skills they have. So this is not like a perfect doctor or perfect person doesn't know everything for sure, but they always push the boundary of their knowledge. And this is the thing, they have a problem, doctors and people in general have a problem by saying, I don't know, but let me search. And I'm really happy to learn. I'm sometimes say, oh, this is why I believe that, because that research is like a bunch of research she said that, so this is why I believe. But if I'm wrong, and if you have other information there, by all means, give me, say it. You know, I'm really happy to change my mind. I'm really happy to say I was wrong. And I think that the massive progress we made in like the history of humanity is the moment we say, oh, we was wrong. The earth is not flat. We was wrong. You know, so it's that process of saying, I was wrong because, so now I know, this is actually interesting. So this is the thing, when a doctor is unable to say, oh, this is new, I didn't saw that before. You know, actually, most of my doctors, for example, my GP in Paris that I really love, she's like, I've been such a useful help for me, is a Lyme specialist, because a lot of symptoms of Lyme are actually the same than EDS patients. And what's actually happening, she say, oh, I realize that I have misdiagnosed some of my patients who actually have potentially EDS. So I'm retesting them. But she had also the inner strength to call back her patient and say, listen, I met a girl. She have like a lot of symptoms similar as you. And I begin to wonder if you don't have that other disease. And if the fact that the treatment is not working is because you don't have Lyme, but you may have EDS. Would you be okay to be tested? And actually on some people that have helped to adjust the treatment. And she's always like, okay, I don't know that. Can we call someone? And that's also what I've been career, to be able to refer to specialists, to be able to work with other people. And today, few years after I have 7, 10 specialists around, a cardiologist, gynecologist, a GP to coordinate everything, a rheumatologist, and it's like a teamwork. We work all together to make a solution. And I think nowadays some doctors are like, I need to get the solution all by myself, alone, and I need to be an answer for everything. Hey, like, too much responsibility on your shoulder, man. You know, not working. So I think that's also that ability to say, I don't know.
Yeah. What a beautiful experience. I'm so happy and grateful I got to experience it. Now, also with that awareness, it was just, I cherish, even though it's been like a massive growing and a lot of patience and trust, but like also with knowing that it gives me empathy for humans like yourself, because I connected to someone that I've never really experienced to what she's experiencing in her body to that degree. So it makes me have empathy when I meet someone like you, to like just know a little bit deeper into all the process. So Pauline, as we're coming towards the end of our podcast, is there anything else in your heart that you haven't expressed today that you would like to express?
I think, because we was talking about empowerment and that people have the solution, and some people sometimes ask me that I'm a source of inspiration and that I empower people, and what I always say in that thing, I want people to remember that I don't empower anyone. Nobody has the power to give you power. The power is already there, and people are already really, really powerful. It's just like, because of the challenges they face, they think they have no power anymore. They think that the challenges take out all the power out of them, and they try to find the power out, and it's still there. It's such, they need to use it again. They need to uncover it. And I think it's really important for people to remember that nobody can empower you. They just make that power more visible and more and make you able to use it again when you have like a setback in your life. That's just that. So I don't want people to feel hopeless and helpless. We just remember that the power and the solution is still here, and I've never left. And just
That's really beautiful. I love that. It's so true. Thank you so much for sharing. Now I just go through, last round I asked all my guests similar questions, so that the listeners get repeat from but different perspectives. So Pauline, what is your, other than YouTube, Instagram, search engines, what's your favorite app on your phone?
apart the social media and stuff.
Yeah, apart from those.
I would say I have two: Spotify and Audible.
Audible.
The book.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I really like to practice generally when I'm at the gym or whatever, and even like riding my bike. I always like either have music or have a podcast or have a book. I really like that medium for reading books, because I'm dyslexic and reading is really hard for me. So what generally I do is I listen to a book, audible version, and I go back to the book and read what's really interesting, like for me, or what I want to take back, because it takes me less energy than reading. So yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So then now, speaking of books, what's your most gifted book to people?
My most gifted
Yeah,
book?
the book that you give out the most to people.
The Happiness Trap for Saris.
Sorry, what's that one? The happiness what?
The Happiness Trap.
The Happiness Trap. And who's it by?
Yeah. Russ Harris.
Okay.
This is one of the master of acceptance commitment therapy, and it's really about how we are focused too much on happiness all the time and how to accept and live life to the fullest. So it's really a really useful book, not so big, really easy to read. And the other book, I would say, The Illuminated Breath by Dylan Werner, because I think, yeah,
it's a good one.
It's a really recent book, but it's really an excellent book for people who want to go into breath work. I'm a breath worker, I'm a breath practitioner, and it's really a game changer in breath work. So I really advise it to a lot of people at the moment. So
that's really cool. I've not come across it, but I just saw on your Instagram that you recommended that book. So I'm curious to get into that. I've got that. That's a whole new area that I need to, and I will dive into at some point. I'm really excited. So let's say you could put a billboard in the busiest street in Paris, and on that billboard you could write 2 to 3 sentences or put a quote. What message would you want to get across to 1 million people every day that walk past it?
This is like, what would I say? It's this is a hard one, because you could say a lot of things to people, but like I would say you're perfect as you are. Everything is there. This is a sentence that I say a lot at the moment. You can get bitter or you can get better. That's up to you. What something is like life throws a challenge is that you can get bitter or you can get better. You can't you can't choose what's coming like thrown at you, but you can like completely choose the way you're gonna react to it, and you have always a choice to make it.
I love
that.
And
the last sentence that I would put is like, not to choose is still choosing. when you choose to stay in a bad environment, to not fix your diet, to not change, like to not like integrate stuff that can help you, you still choosing. Even if not changing anything is still choosing. So not choosing is still choosing.
We can't put it up there because all we can do is put the first one. The second one, there won't be space. Just kidding. That's amazing. I love this one. Or the other way that I've heard it said, not making a decision is still a decision as well. This is really powerful. I remember when I heard that for the first time, I'm like, that is so true. That is still a decision. Just to stay and not make one is still a decision.
It's like when you stay in bad relationship for you, or toxic relationship, it's like, but I can't make it, like I can't make a decision. It's still a decision. You decide to stay. It's a decision. I don't change my diet. I can't decide if I want to do it. So you have make a decision. You don't change your diet. You stick to that unhealthy diet. You stick to that unhealthy vicious cycle. So it's still a decision. We think we don't choose, but we choose every day.
And I'm sure you've heard this before too, like where we are a sum of our choices we've made. And so
every day we choose. Like when we were talking about that lapse moments, we choose how much that lapse is gonna stay. The difference is like, do you want to be like in a lapse or like lapse, relapse?
Sure.
That's the difference.
Sure. And finally, what's in the last 6 months, what's a new habit you've acquired?
It's a new habit
that like positively impacted your life.
in the last 6 months. I changed my way of training, so I do more strength and mobility work, and I take sun. I do more sunbathing. I expose myself more to sun. It's because I'm really pale, so I really like try to stay away from the sun. And I meet some friends who say, no, vitamin D and stuff, and you need to go out there and take the sun. So I would say walking for sunset and sunrise.
Oh, that's
take
awesome.
The sun at this moment.
And has the sun changed since being in Paris from being in Poly?
Yeah.
Is it not as hot
like
there?
The sun. No, there is no, like, it's supposed to be the summer there, but it's gray, it's raining, and I'm like, that's still a beautiful city. But yeah, the weather is not like welcoming me with like a lot of right now.
That's so true.
Yeah.
The weather here just welcomes you, doesn't it? It's just like, you're here, awesome, we love you. It's just so
yeah
great.
Ooh, and in Paris it's like, no, like, like it's like a little bit snob, like no way. Like,
is it nice
like,
though to put on different clothes though?
Yeah, it's really weird, because that's what I was saying. Like, comfort, you remember what we are used to. I arrived in Paris, and after traveling, I had to put something that it's really weird for me to wear now. It's shoes. And
Yeah.
like, my feet feel weird, like even my plantar fascia is like, my God, what's happening? And I say, oh, shit, I'm not used to shoes anymore. Like, I'm like, that's not, that's still not right. Like, that's 6-7 months that I'm barefoot or in flip flops, and I'm like,
now you gotta cover your clothes, your toes. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I appreciate you taking the time, Pauline, and sharing all your insights and your journey. And we already know this. You've already positively impacted at least one person, and it's me. So you've already done your job.
That's perfect. Like one people per one people.
Exactly.
And like, this is a virtuous circle. You're gonna influence other people, and on the way, like, you don't change the world. You change one people at a time.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I really appreciate you taking the time, sharing your journey. If people want to connect with you or get to know more about you, or get involved with your work, how can they find you?
Instagram, Facebook. I have also a website called The Resilience Mindset, and
and how do they spell your name on Instagram?
Pauline Moldoun, Moldoun.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much. And this was another episode of Inside Mentors Minds.